Back to Lunch with the Boss. Hello there, everybody. I hope you had a great day. You had a wonderful, wonderful weekend for folks of you who celebrated Passover and those who celebrated Easter. Welcome back to Lunch with the Boss. My name is Scott Tanker, host of Lunch with the Boss, here every Thursday from 12:30 to 1 o'clock. We'd love to have you visit us on www.radiovisionnetwork.com. As you know, we speak about the trials and tribulations, the dynamics between employees and employers, and how we can make that environment better, safer, more fun, more efficient, more productive, so that everybody who's in the process of being either a boss, a supervisor, or an employee reporting to that person, we can all understand each other and do better. Today I have a great guy with me. He's in the restaurant business, which I think we haven't really had anybody here to talk about the supervision and the dynamics between supervision in the restaurant business. Say hello to Mark Oppen. Mark, how are you?
Great, Scott. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Welcome to Mark. Mark has a really cool restaurant. It's a combination of a high-class sandwich and I guess sandwich and cheesesteak shop. Okay. That's not your normal shop. And Mark's been doing this for a very, very long time. And he has over 60 employees he has to supervise. Not one of them gets hired without his consent. So we have a lot to talk about today, Mark. Thank you for coming on the show.
My pleasure.
Tell us a little bit about yourself. Tell us a little bit about Rockhill and how it got there. I know personally because I'm familiar with the area. For those of you who don't know, Rockhill Restaurant is in Cherry Hill. You have to stop by. But he's going to talk to us about it. Tell us a little bit about it.
Well, Rockhill is a very unique restaurant, as you mentioned. We are at the heart of it a Philly comfort food restaurant. I like to say that we're a downscale concept with an upscale mentality. We take these things that are part of the Philly comfort food environment, pizza, cheesesteaks, hoagies, right, salads, burgers, sandwiches, and we try to do everything a little bit more of an upscale flair to it. We make all of our meats from scratch, whether it be our turkey or our roast beef, our corned beef. We're all made from scratch, which is a very unique thing in the industry today. We grind our own burgers in-house. We make our own bacon from scratch. So we do these things because we think that while people are trading down today as far as trying to spend a little less or have a great experience for not quite the top dollar they want, they don't want to trade down in quality, they don't want to trade down in service, they don't want to trade down in hospitality. So we deliver that upscale mentality with downscale concepts. We've trained our staff to do a fantastic job with really being the most hospitable they can be, providing a little extra level of service that I don't think you typically find in a casual restaurant like this. I think the food speaks for itself. The variety of food is phenomenal, but not just the variety, but the fact that each unique ingredient has all that care and that love that's put into it and made from scratch. I really think it's a unique environment. It's a lot of fun. We're having a lot of fun with it. We've been having fun introducing the Cherry Hill and all the South Jersey area to the restaurant, and we're excited to continue to introduce it to more people.
That's great. And folks, you really have to go over there and try it. First of all, it's beautiful, it's clean, it's new. There's glass from floor to ceiling, so you can really look out and enjoy yourself. It's quiet in terms of you don't have any noise coming from the outside. It's incredibly convenient. It's right on the corner, basically, of Route 70 and Route 295, about a quarter mile east on Route 70, and it's a beautiful place. Mark, how did you get there? Tell me a little bit about your history. I know we spoke a little bit before off camera, but how did you get in this great position where you really must be unbelievably busy having to supervise 60, 65 people, of which many of them are probably from the younger set?
Yeah, it's a nice mix, to be honest with you. We have a lot of single moms as well who work for us. Mm-hmm. We have people who, one of the things the restaurant industry provides for people is flexibility. Lunch and dinner service, the fact that we're not your typical 9-to-5 job, right, allows for flexibility. So single parent, it's a great industry for them to work in. People who need a second job, who want to work a daytime job, and then need a second job in the evening or vice versa. So there's a lot of flexibility, and so you'd find a very wide variety of people who do come and work for us and work with us, and we think that's great. It adds a terrific dichotomy to the staff, and everyone blends very well together in this environment. I've been in the industry for over 20 years at this point. I started out when I was in college at Arizona State University, working for a restaurateur who was very successful out in Arizona. He had about 5 restaurants. I was a waiter and a bartender and started taking on more responsibilities for him, and really grew to start to have a passion for the industry. I didn't realize it, but it kind of started to sink into my skin and become a part of my DNA. And I kind of did a bit of a change in plans from thinking about going to law school and a different type of career when the owner offered me an opportunity at the age of 21, basically, to manage one of his restaurants for him. I jumped at the opportunity, and I've never looked back since then. And I've worked for some amazing restaurateurs all around the country. I've worked under very successful restaurateurs like Rich Melman, who runs a company called Let's Entertain You in Chicago. It's one of the most highly respected restaurant companies in the country. Steven Starr here in Philadelphia, and numerous other people who have had a great impact on myself, my management style, my knowledge and love for the restaurant industry, for the food industry, for hospitality, which is really what we're all a part of. And I've enjoyed carving out my niche in that society as well. One of the things that I think is really important in a role like mine, whether you're general manager of a restaurant, director of operations of a company, the owner of a company, I think it's all about developing your people. If you're going to grow a business and you're going to continue to grow what you're trying to accomplish, you have to be able to develop people, and you have to give them the opportunities to have successes, learn from their mistakes, and grow as a person. And those people become the people you can count on as you're growing your business. So I've been lucky enough to work under some great mentors, and I feel very blessed that I've had an opportunity to mentor myself some terrific people who now have carved their own niche in the industry. It's really been a very rewarding thing for me. I come from more of a high-end, more of a fine dining type of background for many years, so this was a new, challenging, but fun opportunity for me to join up with the ownership team that wanted to bring Rockhill to Cherry Hill, and really just had this vision for what they thought the restaurant could be and what they wanted it to be, and wanted to put it in the hands of someone who they felt could really take it and run with it and grow the business the way that they wanted it to be grown. Our goal is we'd like to turn this into a company. We don't want this to be the only restaurant that we have. So every decision I make, every time I think about a direction that we're going, I try and think about not only what is it going to do for us today in the short term for Rockhill at 1800 Route 70, but also what is it going to do for the long term for Rockhill the brand, for Rockhill the company that we'd like to turn this into. So that becomes a bit of a challenge as well, but it's been fun. And my career, as I said, has gone through many different changes, different cities, different parts of the country, different mentors, different organizations. This has been not only the newest challenge for me, but probably one of the biggest challenges for me, and I'm enjoying every day doing it.
That's fabulous. Now, let's talk a little bit about, I want to talk a little bit about, focus on the development of employees, because I couldn't agree with you more. I've owned the companies, small ones with 13, 14, 15 employees. I've been on my own. I've done it both different ways. It's hard to develop an employee. It's hard to develop somebody to be a good employee. What kind of things do you do that would apply to any industry? Obviously, the food industry has a certain set of characteristics, but other things you probably offer that are applicable to all industries.
Well, I think first of all, the first thing you have to look at is in order to develop someone, they have to want to be developed. Right. So you really can't just pick and choose somebody and say, hey, I'm going to change you, I'm going to develop you, I'm going to turn you into something different. So you really have to find people who have desire and a want to grow and learn new things. And
how do you do that in your particular business? How have you done that?
It's getting to know people. I mean, my business, the hospitality business, is a people business. So it is really about getting to know all the people who you work with and who work for you, and spending quality time with them, listening to them. I think listening is the biggest skill that you need.
Do you give them an exam of any sorts, or do you?
No, other than really just conversations. I'm big into conversations. I'll tell you that I make a to-do list for myself every day, and I teach this to my managers as well. Okay. Every day I have a to-do list, and my to-do list will never be complete unless I have in there notes to have a one-on-one conversation with at least 3 of my employees. Okay. And I make sure that's a part of my daily plan every day. Right. Because I don't want to sit down and have a quick little conversation. Some of them are quick, some of them are 5 minutes, some of them are an hour. Right. But a conversation with at least 3 of my employees every day, away from work, away from other people, and just get to know them, and get to know what they're seeing, what they're feeling, what their desires are. And as you get to know people, and as people start to attach themselves to you a little bit more, you recognize those who want to be developed. Now, in my role, you really have to develop everybody. Right. So while I said that someone has to want to be developed, that's if their career path is going to move upward. Right. Everyone needs an opportunity to be developed, though. Everyone needs an opportunity to get better at what they're supposed to be doing. Absolutely. Why don't we hold that thought for a minute? We're going to take a break. We're going to come back with Mark Oppen from Rockhill. He's the GM and Director of Operations. He has a ton of experience, as you can tell. I'm fascinated by his management style. We're going to talk a little bit more about that in a minute or two. So we'll be right back after these messages with Lunch with the Boss.
In a world where bankers have lost all interest, where robots and fat cats rule our fortunes, one woman will stand up and strive to do the impossible. Be treated like a person. Friends and neighbors will join her quest ordinary people will band together against the forces of corporate greed. And together, they will form Philadelphia Federal Credit Union, already in a neighborhood near you.
Imagine the finest hand-selected USDA prime steak you'll ever have. The freshest line-caught seafood, our Wine Spectator award-winning wine list, and soul-satisfying desserts. Bring that together with the perfect date, the winning business deal, a memorable family celebration. Welcome to Rod's Steak and Seafood Grill in nearby Morristown, New Jersey. Bring your appetite and feed your passion.
Your credit score is yours, and at Experian Credit Expert, we want to help you really use it. With access to helpful Experian experts over the phone and online, we can help you use it to get a better idea of what info the banks have on you. Use it to get more choice of mortgages. Use it to make your money go further. Take the next step to improving your financial future with your free 30-day trial at experian.co.uk.
Here at Freppy's Tex-Mex, you can definitely taste the freshness in our food. You should definitely come to Freppy's because it's a great place. You can bring your family, very kid-friendly. All my servers are amazing, friendly people. Everyone here is just happy to serve, and I think it shows. The thing that sets us apart is the quality and freshness of our food. And I think once you try it, you'd be coming back. I'm Joe DeSario, co-owner of Freppy's Tex-Mex in Plainfield, New Jersey.
Here.
Hello and welcome back to Lunch with the Boss. This is Scott Tanker, host, and I'm here with Mark Oppen from Rockhill Restaurant, eatrockhill.com.
Correct.
And it's on Route 70 in Cherry Hill, New Jersey, right the intersection of Route 295 and Route 70. It used to be an old pizza establishment. Now it's a new, young, vibrant, upscale restaurant that serves pizza, sandwiches, homemade food. You mentioned you make your homemade bacon.
Mm-hmm.
That's
absolutely
fabulous. Let's talk a little bit about the employees, because
Okay.
I want to know about that. Offline, we were talking. Off camera, excuse me, and you said, we have booklets that people look at, employees. We really want them to care about the customer. We talk about being empathetic, and that, and something you mentioned right before we came back on called the 3 A's. Share that with us, share that with the audience.
Well, to backtrack to what you said a second ago, so when I first came on board, when the owner hired me and asked me to really take the reins of his company, our first day together, he was very excited. He wanted to talk about the menu, he wanted to talk about the food, and I really kind of asked him to stop for a second. And I said, if we're really going to build this as a company, and we're really going to hire a bunch of great employees who want to be with us for a long time, we have to have a foundation. You can't build a house without a foundation. We have to give them something they can sink their teeth into. Right. So I refused to talk about one food item or one menu item until we created an employee handbook. So we created a mission statement. And that was the very first thing that I worked on for the first week that I was on the job, was creating a mission statement, creating a vision and an identity for the company. And from there, the employee handbook grew, and that's what we use as our basis for training people. Now, employee handbook really doesn't get into a lot of X's and O's. It gets into hospitality, how to treat people, both your coworkers and the guests, and it gets into really at the heart of what we are, which again is a downscale concept with an upscale mentality, but has hospitality at the forefront of everything. I have a number of philosophies that have done well for me over the years in my career. Some came from little bits and pieces from the mentors that I've had, some from my own observations. If you're going to be successful in this business especially, you have to recognize the guest is always right. And if the guest is ever wrong, you always have to refer back to what I just said, which is the guest is always right. You'll never win an argument with a guest, because even when you win, they're not coming back, you lose. So I teach two main philosophies. One is empathy, as you mentioned. I believe very strongly that if you can put yourself in other people's shoes, whether it's a manager putting themselves in the employee's shoes, employees thinking about how another employee was feeling that day or dealing with that day, or more importantly, employees and managers having empathy for the guests. it allows for you to really put yourself out there with much greater hospitality for the guest. You start to recognize that someone's bad mood or someone's unhappiness may not be related to you or to the restaurant at all. It's other factors, and maybe we have the opportunity to turn that around for them. We have the opportunity to make a day that wasn't so great before they walked in the door, maybe when they walked into the door.
Just with a darn good sandwich, a darn good experience.
Into a great day.
A clean place.
Absolutely.
Folks, you have to visit this place. You're crazy if you don't. It opened November
6th.
6th. I drive by every day. I feel like it's been there forever, but it hasn't. It's just been there a long time. The building was up, obviously, before the store opened, the restaurant opened. You have to come in there. There's up to, I think, 90 to 100 people you can seat.
94 seats. We do takeout and delivery as well, and it's really a fun environment. We're very pleased.
And it's BYOB for you folks who like the BYOB style restaurants.
Absolutely.
Which is kind of neat when you can feel really good in a nice, clean restaurant, bring your own bottle of wine, and have this great quality food, which, by the way, much of it's homemade.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. What's your greatest strength?
I think it's developing people. I think it's listening to people. I think listening is a skill that's, it's everyone thinks that they're good at it, but it really is a skill that has to be honed over the years. You know, I told someone the other day, if you mix up the letters and listen, they spell out silent. And that's the biggest key to being a good listener, is you have to just listen. You have to just stop what you're doing. One of the things that my employees can always count on with me, and my managers as well, is when I'm sitting down to have a conversation with you, and I make a to-do list for myself every day, and on that to-do list, I make it a point to mark down for myself a reminder that there's at least 3 employees that I want to talk to each day, just have a one-on-one conversation. When I have a conversation with an employee, a little trick that I do, and it's not really a trick, it's part of my repertoire, is I have a clean pad of paper and a pen in front of me. I never ever have a pad of paper in front of me that has notes from a previous meeting or a previous conversation or my to-do list or anything. I always start with a clean sheet of paper for every person I sit down with. And there may not be any reason to take any notes at all in that conversation. It may just be a casual conversation that just ends up being a very pleasant conversation. We both walk away feeling great. But I always believe that I can learn something from my employees. I always believe I can learn something from my managers. And so in that conversation, I want to be prepared to hear something that I want to remember. And I'm going to listen, and I'm going to be silent, and I may take some notes. And as I'm listening and I'm hearing things, I'm picking little pieces that really are important for the future of myself and of the company, I'm taking notes. And I can use those notes later on to go back to that person or go back to that scenario and make sure that
idea, whatever the case
make
may
sure
be.
Make sure that everything is remembered.
I'm curious, it's personal almost. Why a clean pad of paper, a clean piece, versus a piece that you may have only wrote one note or two on earlier in the day? Is that you want the person to see that you have total?
Yeah, it's
you're
twofold.
Not looking at anything else.
It is
which
number
I think
one.
is fascinating when you think about it.
Yeah, number one, there's a psychology behind it. Number one, it's I want the person to know that I'm coming to them with a clean slate in my brain as well. I'm here to listen. Again, that's part of listening.
Okay.
Is to not have a lot of thoughts running through your mind and you're thinking about 10
anything
other
in front
things.
of you either.
Right. And also, to be honest with you, is that if they're going to give me some important things that I want to know about, I don't want to blend them with something else. Any piece of paper I have on my pad has important notes on there about something I'm dealing with that day. Okay. Each piece of paper sort of, to me, should represent a specific thought, a specific need, a specific idea. So it has 2 reasons behind it, but it's just something I've done for a long time and have found to be very successful for myself from an organization standpoint and a psychology standpoint.
Right. It's a great question. I think it's a better answer because I think it's great because I thought there was some psychology to it and I was believing it was, and it is. What's your greatest weakness? What do you work on?
I'm a perfectionist, and that can be good and can be bad. Right. I tend to have a hard time enjoying the successes of my work and what's happening around us. Right. I'm always thinking about what's next.
Right.
I have learned over the last couple of years especially, I didn't know that I would get to this point in my life, and it inevitably happens where I start talking about new generations of employees, new generations of people. And, for a long time, I was a young manager working in an industry where I was supervising people who were my age, many times supervising people who were older. And I still supervise a few people older than me, but that's becoming less and less as I get older.
I don't want to go there.
So as you start to manage and supervise younger people, new generations of people, every generation has unique idiosyncrasies. They have unique characteristics to them. We don't like to think that happens to us, but it just does. And it's really your job as a supervisor to stay up on that, to realize that I can't manage each person the same. And so one thing I've changed about myself, because I am that perfectionist, and again, I have trouble enjoying the successes that we have for terribly long. I'm ready to move on to the next thing.
Right.
But I've learned that this generation that I deal with today, for the most part, they really need that reward period. They really need to have that time to celebrate a success, to celebrate a win, if you will.
Right.
So I've had to change that a little bit about myself, more so to make sure that my employees get what they need.
So
and
it
what
makes the
they need
environment
is
better.
Yeah, they need an environment where they can truly feel like if they had a successful day or shift or night, whatever it is, that we don't just celebrate for 2 minutes and then move on to the next thing, but we really celebrate it, we talk about it, we enjoy it, we revel in it. And yes, there has to be a period of time then that you move on to the next.
Okay.
My period of time, I think, used to be a lot shorter, and I've had to try and force myself to make it a little bit longer. But I am my own toughest critic, always have been. I've never sat down with anyone who supervises me who has ever told me anything different than I already criticized myself for. And in fact, many times they'll tell me that I'm too hard on myself for the things I criticize on myself. But that's the perfectionist in me.
I understand completely, and I think it's great that you have such a passion, and sometimes the passion is mistaken for a perfectionist, and it's okay to have a passion, and you don't have to be a perfectionist to have the passion, but it just seems that way.
Right, and I have that passion and that perfectionist in me creates an intensity, and I would say that intensity can sometimes be misunderstood, and I have to recognize it in myself.
And soften up a little bit sometimes.
Exactly. It's that intensity in me. It's not a yeller and a screamer, but it's more about
you're focused.
I'm focused, and I have an intensity towards that perfectionist, that goal of perfection. I know that we're never going to reach it, but I never want to stop striving for it. Right. I've always believed that if you settle for mediocrity, you'll always be no better than mediocre. You should always strive for excellence. So it's that perfectionist in me, it's that intensity in me, and once in a while I'll have employees and managers who really they have a similar characteristic in them, and we can drive forward together. But I have to recognize when I have people working with me who it's not quite the same. It doesn't make them a bad person or a bad employer or a bad manager, and so I have to tone it down a little bit and change my approach. One thing I learned not that long ago actually is that I still believe in the message I've been delivering for many years, and I think the message is right, and I think that I have the right idea of how to have a successful business. It's the choice of delivery of that message that I've had to alter based on new generations of employees that I work with, maybe because of supervisors they've worked for before who have a different style than I do. So I still believe in my heart that I deliver the same message, but I've learned to alter the delivery.
Hold that thought. We're going to be right back. We're a little late for another break, but we'll be right back with Lunch with the Boss. Scott Tanker, host of Lunch with the Boss, here with Mark Oppen, the GM and director of Rockhill Restaurant.
In a world where bankers have lost all interest, where robots and fat cats rule our fortunes, one woman will stand up and strive to do the impossible. Be treated like a person. Friends and neighbors will join her quest. Ordinary people will band together against the forces of corporate greed. And together they will form Philadelphia Federal Credit Union, already in a neighborhood near you.
Imagine the finest hand-selected USDA prime steak you'll ever have. The freshest line-caught seafood, our Wine Spectator award-winning wine list, and soul-satisfying desserts. Bring that together with the perfect date, the winning business deal, a memorable family celebration. Welcome to Rod's Steak and Seafood Grill in nearby Morristown, New Jersey. Bring your appetite and feed your passion.
Your credit score is yours, and at Experian Credit Expert, we want to help you really use it. With access to helpful Experian experts over the phone and online, we can help you use it to get a better idea of what info the banks have on you. Use it to get more choice of mortgages. Use it to make your money go further. Take the next step to improving your financial future with your free 30-day trial at Experian.co.uk.
Welcome back to Lunch with the Boss. Here I am today with Mark Oppen from the Rockhill Restaurant. He's the GM and the Director of Operations. As you know, Radio Vision Network is where we're streaming from, and we'd love to have you visit us every day. Mark, we were talking about some of the things that make you that are your strengths, some of your weaknesses. We had a little laugh off camera that your employees do jab at you sometimes, and you zing them, and you try to make for a nice, fun working environment. You indicated that when you have a win, you have a good day, you have a nice opportunity, a nice half a day, whatever the time period is. You recognize that, you affirm that with your employees, and this is what you do in your business, in your restaurant. But frankly, it's not something you shouldn't do in every situation. That in today's business, today's employees, if you will, in today's generation, as we talked about, they would like to see more affirmation more often. The older generation was willing to put their head down and not know that they were going to get affirmation. But we've given them as parents, I guess, so much affirmation they expect to have it on the job too. Not such a bad thing.
No,
not such a bad thing. What are your business pet peeves?
I think lack of focus, or just all around laziness. Sloppiness can mean many things. In the restaurant business, sloppiness really can be a bad thing. You know, people will judge you on the cleanliness of your restaurant, what it looks like, but sloppiness can be a lot of other things. Somebody doesn't count money the right way, or doesn't organize things in a proper way, doesn't follow a recipe perfectly. There really has to be a sense of purpose in everyone's job.
Even speaking properly.
Of course.
I mean, you're in a business that you're not someone behind a desk who's writing up a brief.
Right.
You talked about you maybe being a lawyer. You're not someone filling out a form. You're meeting with your client every second of the day. Your client's sitting in front of you.
I teach my employees and managers that you're always on stage.
Yeah.
There's always a light on you.
Yeah.
I teach something I like to call the art of language, which is to just think about what you're going to say. There is something behind when someone asks you a question or asks you for something, instead of saying, yeah, sure, to saying it'd be my pleasure. And I take a lot of cues from, I read some books and spoke to some people who worked for companies like the Ritz-Carlton and the Four Seasons.
Right.
And they teach a philosophy where they are ladies and gentlemen taking care of ladies and gentlemen. Right. And I think when you tell yourself that, it almost makes you sit up straighter a little bit when you think of yourself that way. If you let that phrase go through your mind a little bit, it does change your body language, your facial expression, and the choice of words that you use. And so that's something I try and teach from the beginning, stages with everyone. But I am very much about hospitality. I've told many of my employees, and I mean this sincerely, almost every mistake that they make is a forgivable mistake and is a teachable moment, as an opportunity for us to develop a person, as long as the same mistake is not made over and over again. The one mistake that tends to not be forgivable in certain situations is lack of hospitality. To me, at the heart of any customer service organization, especially the restaurant industry, I think, has to be hospitality. You have to have the guest's best interest in mind ahead of your own, and you have to have a desire to please and to have people leave with a highly satisfied feeling. So anyone who can't do that, and you do an interview with someone, when you talk to someone, people are very good at interviewing. I've had the wool pulled over my eyes. As good of an interview as I think I am. The thing that I'll do sometimes is I will ask questions in an interview that I don't care about the answer. I'll even sometimes tune out the answer. I'll ask a pointed question because I want to see the reaction I get from someone. And I want to see how they're going to speak about that. So I'll talk about personal experiences they've had, or experiences with tough customers or tough situations. And I want to hear what they say, because to me, hospitality is in your DNA. You can't fake it, you can't make it up. And I'll tell relatively quickly in an interview if someone has it or doesn't have it.
Polite and civil.
So I've had people who have come to interview with me who have a wonderful resume, a list of unbelievable mentors and companies they've worked for. But at the heart of it, when I'm sitting in front of them, I don't feel comfortable that they're going to be nice. Right. And at the end of the day, I can teach you anything you need to know about service. I can teach you anything you need to know about the restaurant business. I'm probably, I think, one of the most qualified to teach you about the restaurant business. I can't teach you to be nice. Yeah. It's either in you or not in you. It's
such a big point. I really appreciate you being on, because I think people have to understand you can get so far in life with please, thank you, it's a pleasure to be of service, thank you for coming in today. Just that concept of being polite and being friendly, it takes a lot of the other issues away that inhibit people from enjoying the experience. It's all about the experience. There's a zillion restaurants you can eat at. There's a zillion attorneys. There's a zillion accountants. There's a zillion knuckleheads like me. But it's all about the experience being with that person and feeling like something, if not terribly important, happened. At least it was comforting and it wasn't anxiety-provoking.
Right.
We live in a tough world. We have the tyranny of expectations and urgencies, and it's nice when you can sit down and say, that was a nice experience. That was a nice quality hamburger, which you have to get at Rockhill. If you don't go over there for a hamburger and cheeseburger, you're crazy. That's for sure. Tell me something. What do you think that your employees expect from you or from your supervisors? Because you supervise people who supervise you.
Sure. I think that they just expect leadership. I think they expect direction. I think they expect us to always have the same vision. When you walk into Rockhill, if you're not coming as a customer, you're coming in to just learn about the business.
Right.
I feel very comfortable if you poll 10 individuals you just pick from different parts of the restaurant, ask them what our vision is, what our goals are, what we're trying to accomplish, you're going to get a similar answer from all 10. Right. That's the type of leadership I try and provide. It's the type of leadership I want the management to provide. If the management tries to provide a different type of leadership, has a different vision, the employees get confused. They don't know which direction to go.
Right.
So to me, I think the employees just want stability. They want leadership. They want to be trusted to do things on their own. They want to be empowered to make the right decisions, which I do. But at the end of the day, they want to know they have support from us as well.
Right. You've been to a lot of places, you have a lot of experiences. Any particular person, any particular book you've read that's helped you be who you are today? I know the people you mentioned, the Steven Stars of the world,
people,
Mr. Melman's.
Were better than any book I could read. I mean, I had some wonderful opportunities to sit with Steven personally and just hear wonderful stories and visions he had, and Rich Melman as well, and many other mentors. I did not that long ago read Danny Meyer's Setting the Table, and I thought he had a terrific vision for hospitality and the hospitality industry, and I enjoyed reading his stories and what he had to say. But it's really more about the personal contact I've had with people, and again, being a sponge and picking apart little pieces from some terrific success stories.
Mark, you've been a wonderful, wonderful guest. I really love listening to people who have to deal with people that are on the line 24/7. They don't sit behind a desk. They don't hide behind things. I don't mean it in a bad way,
Right.
but they don't hide behind things. The hospitality business is one of the most important businesses this country can have. I went to a school, University of Denver, and they were very highly known for hospitality. You learn from the ground up. It's amazing to watch people like yourself grow that don't have to necessarily go to college. They have all the experience or don't complete what you maybe continue started. You have a wonderful restaurant. People do have to go watch and go eat. And bring your own BYOB too, by the way. Having to deal with 65, 70 people, that's not easy.
Yep.
Having to deal with the food, all the operations. You're right. You have to stay pretty focused and pretty serious. But you're doing a great job. It's a great restaurant, folks. I really want you to stop by, visit Mark. He is there.
Yes.
I can tell you right. He is there. It's on Route 70, 856-424-4455. They deliver. For those of you who are familiar with the area, call them. They might deliver to you. They cater. They have a great menu. It's eatrockhill.com if you want to look online for them. Mark, thank you so much for being
Scott.
here.
Pleasure to be here.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's another day, Jesse, we have a good day here today?
Yeah.
Yeah, we did. That's Jesse behind the camera. He always says hello. This is Scott Tanker, host of Lunch with the Boss. We're here every Thursday from 12:30 to 1 o'clock. We want you to join us. We want you to come meet us. We want you to do everything you can to help watch what we create, which is a show that allows employees and employers to talk about how to make their environment better here at Lunch with the Boss. See you next week, and hopefully we'll be having sunshine and good skies, blue skies. Have a great day. Talk to you later.
For independent living for seniors age 62 and over, People Inc. offers safe, maintenance-free apartments across Western New York. The affordable rent is income-based. For more information, call People Inc. Senior Living at 817-9090.
Looking for a cooking oil with a light flavor and reduced absorption so food preserves its natural flavor? One with a high smoke point for stir-frying, sautéing, grilling, and baking? Then choose all-natural Pompeian 100% grapeseed oil, imported from France. Grapes have been a key ingredient of the healthy Mediterranean diet for years. Pompeian 100% grapeseed oil is the chef's choice for high-heat cooking, grilling, stir-frying, sautéing, or even deep frying. And Pompeian 100% grapeseed oil is great for baking too, because its delicate taste does not overwhelm the flavor of cakes, cookies, and other favorite recipes. A key traditional ingredient of the Mediterranean, grapeseed oil is a rich source of vitamin E antioxidant and naturally gluten-free. Buy imported Pompeian 100% grapeseed oil today and find great recipes at Pompeian.com.
Wait, don't let this happen to you. At Jan Fence, we're family owned and operated.